Tim's at the head of the table.
Coffee. Yeah, coffee.
No, just water.
I'll have to drive out to Marana from here, so I drink burger coffee, but I'm stopping on 79 about 4 times.
Please. It's time, right? Alright, we'll call the meeting to order, the regular meeting for the Emergency Services Committee at 18:03. We'll do roll call.
Just look at who's here.
Let's see here. We got Scott Stelgebauer,
Here.
John Pettis,
Here.
Chris Lilly,
Yes.
Joyce Lopez,
Here.
and Tim Gatto is present.
The chief is excused, Chief Alanis is excused,
Colonies is absent,
and Michael Alonso.
and Michael Alonso is
Yes.
absent. So we still have 4 or 5. We have a quorum. Next we'll do a pledge of allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Next item be a consent agenda, be the approval of the minutes of the meeting on January 16th of 2020. Has everybody had a chance to go over them?
Move to approve.
Second.
Lily,
Yeah.
Those beat you just a little bit there.
motion to approve them, JP seconded it. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. Okay, we'll move on to 5 under new business. In the May, discussion on quarterly drills. Number 1, past drills review and discussion.
Tim, there's one that I gave you, has a couple of photographs in the back. It's a little briefer than what we would normally provide, but it provides the context for that November 13th drill that we had, 13th or 14th, November 13th drill that we had at Resolution East. I think we've talked about this already in prior meetings where the Arizona State Mine Inspector called and asked about a helicopter that landed. It's the same, it's that same event.
This was a simulated collapse one.
Yeah. And this was an escalating one where we had, the initial report was that we had a broken leg, 2 individuals involved in a broken leg, and then as the drill progressed, it became a broken leg and a head injury, and then it progressed even more over the next 2 hours where the person was transported off site, and then part of the scenario included a fatality that was escalated at the hospital. And so that tested our internal systems, how we respond to those types of situations internally from a human resource and an emotional standpoint, to train our leaders to handle the emotions that go into that. And you know, they're not all, you can't really say that things are successful because we had hiccups in the system. We did have one minor injury that came out of that. We had one of our mine rescue team members that injured his leg as part of that response. And that's just the short of it. There's a few corrective actions that came out of that too.
Yeah, I mean, just one thing on that one, so, you know, it was a good opportunity for us to really dive into understand, you know, how he was injured, you know, and it's coming out that more than likely going to be a personal medical where it's an aggravated old injury. But, you know, that got us talking, you know, what are we doing to put these guys in the right position? Are they the right guys in those positions? So we're actually working with Cobra Valley right now to come up with a better protocol for physicals for these guys, to put them more in simulation of what we're requesting of them. You know, simple things like doing, you know, lunges and you know, touch your toes and things if we could pick up on something beforehand before it becomes a work-related injury.
Before we have to rescue another person
Yeah,
that's
absolutely.
involved in the injury, the incident itself.
Right.
So Culver Valley's been extremely supportive in this too. And they're helping us to develop a whole physical program, not just, you know, like the whole gambit from fit test to, you know, during the preliminary test to, you know,
Hearing conservation and.
everything.
Yep.
So,
Right.
yeah.
Is there standard tests out there for, you know, ERTs?
There isn't, right? So like, you know, MSHA gives us a very generic, you know, couple bullet points, you know, you have all your fingers and toes and, you know, like, it's super basic.
Yep.
So we're going above and beyond that. We came up with a whole list to give them based off a couple other, everybody had their own list they were working off of, so we're putting one list together where we're putting them through the physicals, so.
Standardize it so
Yeah.
that no matter who comes on board, we have the same system.
Baseline, yeah.
And it's sustainable over the long term.
Yes.
Whether Scott and I are involved or not, it'll still be that system or better.
Okay.
So that was for the past drill, Tim.
Right, and I think we discussed a little bit at the last meeting as well. I know we kind of talked a little bit about the fire side. I don't think there was too many major issues on our side. I do know that we did have a real-time call during that event, but we had people to handle that and kept the drill continuing. You know, flight crew came in, they didn't have any issues, any problems, so I mean, it's getting better maybe, right?
Yep.
That's all I was about to say, I think it's getting better.
Yeah.
You know, just coming in, it's getting better.
We had talked about the future drills, making sure that we test parts of the system that we don't normally get to test. And we've tested helicopters now a few times. We're integrated better from a relationship standpoint. We really need to explore those areas that may not be that standard. Hazardous materials, remote locations, you know, unorthodox type injuries that you wouldn't normally run up against.
Rope rescue stuff.
Yep, technical, yep.
Yeah, I think we're good on road crash and other things, but
Right,
it's hairy, then, yeah.
right.
On your landing zones, I don't know if you guys are required to have it, yeah, fire extinguishers after the landing zone?
We do. And all the improved ones that are actually, you know,
The concrete or
Yeah,
all that?
exactly.
Okay.
yeah, we have fire suppression there, just.
Good on the past drills? Anything further
Upcoming, well, I guess, yeah.
upcoming?
We still need to finalize that date. I think we have a tentative date, March 20th. Let me just check the calendar real quick. Yeah, March 20th in the morning is the tentative date we're looking at. We just need to finish up the scenario on that. But we talked about doing something more remote out at the drill pit, yeah, and bringing a helicopter out there and doing something a little bit more remote. But, so just let me know if that date doesn't work, Tim.
Okay.
It'd be really- March 20th in the morning.
Will do. You good on that one, that item? Alrighty, we'll move on to B, discussion on NIMS compliance, roadmap for a path forward, presenter Charles Kmet, Canal County Emergency Manager. You wanna have something to say?
A little bit.
Awesome.
I'm gonna definitely make this more of a discussion as opposed to a presentation. I don't actually have anything to provide, you know, slides and whatnot. For those that don't know me, I'm the emergency manager for Pinell County. I've been here for about 5.5 years. One of the things that that our office is charged with regards to county agencies, and county agencies only, is making sure that we are compliant with the National Incident Management System as far as the county is concerned. And I kind of want to take this approach to talk about NIMS for what it means for Superior, in the same manner of how we talk about hazmat stuff for the LEPC, the Local Emergency Planning Committee. that we have at the county level and that we have at the state level. And for those that aren't familiar, that with an LAPC, started as a part of EPCRA, which was the Emergency Planning Community Right to Know Act in the 80s after several bad hazmat incidents that occurred in India and then somewhere else here in the US. And it was basically just, there was issues where as industries were building their, within themselves, they weren't providing that information to public safety agencies around them. And then the public safety agencies were trying to play catch up in order to make sure that they're keeping the community safe and then obviously keeping those businesses safe. And this is similar for the way that I look at us with the county, because we're in a real interesting position in that even though we're not the Phoenix Valley, we don't have contiguous land masses from one jurisdiction to the next. We've got a lot of unincorporated, but we're going to keep growing as the county as a whole. And I know the town is going to be the same way. And regardless of how fast if it's growing compared to Maricopa or Casa Grande or AJ, it doesn't really matter with regards to public safety, is that when we're all trying to work together, we try to use those standards that are federal mandates, at least for some jurisdictions and some agencies. I can say that as of at least 2012 was the last time I really looked at it, but there were 64 different grant programs at the federal level that required compliance for NIMS. That was anywhere from Homeland Security to FEMA to housing to DOJ and Department of Health and Human Services. It's always been since NIMS came out after 9/11 from the recommendation of the 9/11 Commission. It's always been self-certifying. You're marking off and saying that you as the jurisdiction, like when you're applying for a grant or something like that, that you say that you've got these things. And there's never been, that I know of, any real big hit from anybody that is saying that they're compliant in one way, but they're not meeting that compliance in a different way, at least in Arizona. But I want to make sure that as we are, for the county agencies, making sure that the county stays NIMS compliant, or that we're working towards that, even in areas that we're not, that we offer that the same with jurisdictions. Because that is part of our charge for the county, but I feel that for our program, that's part of what we should be offering to the jurisdictions within and our neighbors, because it doesn't help any of the public safety agencies that if you've got this large group that are, and then you've got this group that aren't, and then they come together in a big incident and they're not working in that incident management way, whether it be interoperable communications or speaking in plain language, which we won't even talk about that on the law enforcement side, but that's even an issue just when you talk about that, going from one agency to another, is that 10 codes mean something different from one group to another group. So I wanted to make sure that you guys knew what our program does, in emergency management and things that we have to offer, if that is the route that you're going down. I know, for example, I know that the town is put in for a state Homeland Security grant program application, and I know that because I'm one of the RAC advisory council members, so I'll be looking at them and I'll be one of the 8 people that are scoring them and then eventually voting on that. And I know because we do our own applications that one of the required forms that you have to put in is that NIMS compliance thing. It's just checking boxes of yes and no, going down the list. And we don't see that as reviewers or scorers. That's not part of our job. We're just looking at the application itself. But that got me thinking about, I want to make sure that y'all know that if there are things that you want help with regards to having better NIMS compliance, that's something that we're here to help in that way. And it's, again, it's not a, like I said from the very beginning, what we focus on is the compliance for the county. We're not big brother for any of the jurisdictions or anything like that. We just want you to know that since we've got an emergency management program and that's part of our bread and butter, you know, I've got 4 planners that deal with that in some way, shape, or form for compliance, and they're, you know, they're here to help. And that was really all I had as a presentation, or kind of almost a plea of, you know, make my people busy. So, I don't have anything else in relation to what this committee has and what you guys do within that, but I know obviously, you know, the partners with the mine and everything, and as things get busier all over this region, you know, it's just gonna, if it's something you're going down that road, obviously it's a whole lot easier to be ahead of the game than, you know, playing catch up.
I have a question then. For this NIMS, so I get a hold of you, or a group or myself, whoever. Can we make what the standard should be? Like, I try to make ours achievable. We had one put together a long time ago.
Mm-hmm.
Some of the trainings are not achievable for a department that's
Mhm.
not here all the time. And my question was, is there a certain amount that has to be achievable, or as long as you have some type of program in place?
It's more about the program in place and how you're working towards it. That's part of the reason why I'm guessing you're probably are referring to, like, when they had the NIMS cast, the typing tool.
I think that one, that's what I had.
Well, like drills and things, right? Like,
Yeah,
that's
It was saying we needed like 6 NIMS drills a year and 3 or 4 tabletop exercises. I mean, that is quite a bit to do in 1 year.
Yeah,
You
yeah.
know,
That
I mean, if we did a couple NIMS drill or 1 NIMS drill a year, a tabletop exercise a year, I mean, is that within that realm?
Yes, yes. So, excuse me, when they first came out with NIMS, of course, the federal government thought it was a great idea to be able to quantify everything. So they had this huge list, and it was called the NIMS cast tool, and it was online. And I remember when you printed it out, you could easily fill up almost a 1-inch binder of, you know, every page that you had to fill out, because when I worked for the tribe, for Dawn Alta Nation, same thing, and filling those out, and it was just daunting, and you had to do X number of this, X number of this, have that. You know, it even went as far as saying who you should have at the different training levels for ICS and stuff like that. And they, after a number of years, they realized how difficult that was. And it was setting themselves up, and I know Congress, my understanding, they wanted to do it because they wanted to be able to have those numbers, since we were, you know, Homeland Security as a department was brand new. They were pumping millions and millions of dollars, and they wanted to be able to say, yes, you know, this is happening. But after 10 years, and they realized they weren't getting those numbers, so okay, we need to scale that back a whole lot, because not everybody was New York City, not everybody's LA Fire, you know, or Dallas, or, you know, Miami.
I try asking around, and not too many people that have as big as one that we had. Like, okay, not people have, and have a lot.
Yeah.
NIMS to say, it's like, I don't know, yeah, figure something out, because that's a lot, and I want to be able to accomplish something,
Mm-hmm.
and have a resolution, us be on the same page, you know what I'm saying? Something simple for what we do,
Mm-hmm.
so, you know, that was my question.
Yeah,
I don't need to hold you that for sure.
No, yeah, there's, I have not, of all the self-certifying things that we've done for the different grants, there's not ever been a quantifying question of numbers of things. It's just more about, are you using, you know, your NIMS principles in your exercises, or in your mutual aid agreements and things like that. And some of it, I think, was just not understanding, like when you're talking about NIMS and a mutual aid agreement, that was more about, okay, are you saying in your mutual aid agreement that you're still going to be using incident command? You know, you're still going to have, you know, plain language and, you know, those kinds of, and that's really all it was. And then boom, you check that box and you're done. I think some of the bigger ticket items were things like interoperable communications. Obviously, that's a huge pillar for NIMS, and you know, achieving that for everybody. I mean, the county still is not at that. We are a bigger step forward now that we have the new radio system that we got on board with last year. That cost $20 million, you know, and that's not achievable or sustainable for so many. And like I said, that only took care of a small portion. It really, as we are today, we're not interoperable in that we can turn on and talk with you and Casa Grande and AJ and down at, Aber Valley all at once, But like I said, as we as a county as a whole get bigger, it only makes sense for all of us to be trying to make those little things forward. So I think a great example of the compliance piece is when we helped out, just a little bit that we helped out with doing the incident action plan for the staff. That met that compliance box, in a lot of different ways. So, so any way that we can help out with that, and obviously, as you achieve that, or you're able to say that you're working towards it, then you're able to go after more grants and things. So, so I want to make sure that you guys know that you've got our commitment with that.
That's good.
Is there a workbook that we should be trying to follow, and as a roadmap? Things that are easy to accomplish, things that are more difficult that we can start tracking internally. And last meeting we talked about numerical, just keeping track of some of the numerical parts so we know where we're at.
Yeah. So obviously, when they did away with the NIMS casts, that whole thing was gone. But I can take a look to see what is out there that may be helpful as far as how you're taking the steps that aren't, that really makes sense. Because I know that was the other thing that is, especially if it's a federal government or comes from some think tank, it's going to be so pie in the sky, strategic, and it really doesn't do anything. But if it's able, hey, do this, or hey, you're doing this, or then so like I said, I'll look to see what's out there that is easier and
Yes.
and just puts it in. It's kind of funny, you talk about it has to be plain language as one of the tenets of NIMS, but then in taking care of NIMS, it's like, I don't understand what you're saying,
Right.
But being a former fire guy, it's just, you want to be able to talk to the next truck coming in. Simple as that. It doesn't take a whole lot more. So.
We had one of the later things we have on the agenda tonight is talking about capital plans coming up for this next year, and that preparation should figure into the capital plan. So we're making good decisions today that will affect where we're going to be in 3 years or 5 years, and so that we're not putting money after systems that won't support that growth in the right direction.
Yeah. No, that's true. That's true. And I mean, you guys all know, as far as the planning part of everything goes, is that it's hard to look at that 3 year out, 5 year out, 10 year out on the specifics, but that's where it's a little bit easier to be, a little bit at the more the 30,000 foot level, and so, and then but then drilling it down to, okay, in order to achieve that, what are our action items? What are those specific things that we need to do and take care of in order to get there?
So we need to get your assistance on that, just so we're thinking we have the right time frames, and we have the right ideas on where we need to be focusing our attention. And this may not be the right place to talk about it, but if it is, then we'd like to be involved with that.
Okay, definitely. Like I said, I'll see what is more current that's out there. I will say this, that I do know from talking to both State Homeland Security and the Department of Emergency and Military Affairs, who they're the ones that oversee the NIMS compliance for the state agencies. They have, unless something were to change from the federal government, they have no plans on changing how that gets reported. So your self-reporting, self-certification is what it is. And so whenever you're doing that on a grant, you know, just like someone told me, you know, one of the planners told me years ago, you know, they weren't looking for you to be 100%. You know, not 3 years after, or 5 years after, or 10 years after, or even beyond. They just want to see that you're progressing. So, you know, so long as you're truthful to that, and then, you know, like I said at the very beginning, I've never heard of an audit from a state agency, from either one of them, to where it was something that was an issue. Then you know, they can't fault you for keep trying, especially when, you know, when it's recognized that, okay, well, we don't have the money to achieve this X, Y, and Z, so we're applying for a grant X, Y, and Z, but you don't award us grant X, Y, and Z.
Yeah.
So how can I get there?
Yeah.
Yeah.
We'd like to figure out too what that path would look like so that we can be more attractive to those grants that would be available, even though we're not just necessarily checking the box, but we're making ourselves attractive for that type of investment.
Yeah. That makes sense.
So just kind of next steps, so we had that document we were floating around, right? Maybe we should kind of stop working on that document?
Yes, I agree.
And would it be one of your planners that could help us out, or who would, you know, sit down and maybe even look through that document with, I don't know if it's Todd or you, or I don't know who, but, or the two chiefs get together, and we just focus on the things we need to improve, right? And
Yeah, because this for a conversation right here, I mean, it cleared a lot of stuff from this
Yeah.
little thing we wanted to do, and like, can't achieve that. And I want to be able to make some achievable goals we talked about.
Yep.
Now, talking with you, we're making our steps forward, it's
Mhm.
great, little steps at a time, whatever it takes. Yeah, that document we have has a lot on that, man, we can't, hard to do.
Yeah.
So, I think it'd be great to,
Where do we go to find those grants to apply for?
Grants, yeah, online, a lot of them you can do online, or you know, I guess a lot of, any of them, I'll ask those questions in all your grants, your FG, your BFA grants, we've been putting in for a lot of them.
Yeah,
We ain't getting dirty, you know, we've got a few smaller ones, but we haven't got any bigger ones. We're working on an AFG right now, just starting on that one, and either River, he's a community grant for another rescue right now. And actually got CAG, trying to get CAG to help me out on that one, maybe it'll help out a little bit more, you know, get a little bit better, but there's a lot of them out there, it's time consuming. And
do you know of a resource where you can point to that to help us know?
So I know that if you try doing searching like on grants.gov for all the federal grants, it's
Next to impossible.
next to impossible unless you have that CFDA number, and then it's specifically pushing that direction. For some of the overarching ones, I know that from the county perspective, we do have a grants coordinator that is, I don't know, like a year, maybe a year and a half now. And while she does the grants coordination stuff for the county programs, she also is the clearinghouse, if you will, for when you're talking about the tribal grants. If a nonprofit organization, for example, is eligible and wants to apply, they have to apply as being sponsored by a jurisdiction, either by a county or city or town. So I know that she has familiarity with that because we do have, nonprofits that have applied through us, and even Regional Fire, as far as the nonprofit part of them, they've applied through the county for one of those grants. And I know the ones that we always apply for and usually don't veer much beyond that. But if there's another better local for just online stuff, I'll ask Tammy that, and then I'll also see if, I don't know if there's any issue about her helping out. I don't know
What was her
it
name?
is. Tammy Ryle, RHYLL or ALL. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
But she can help point the town superior in the right directions, and any other nonprofits that are looking for a sponsor as the as the town superior, like the Chamber of Commerce, for example, or something like that? Okay.
Yeah, the tribal grants, each tribe sets their criteria, but it's always typically the same kind of 5 things of go towards social services, public safety, education, infrastructure, and then usually that other one is, kind of the hit and miss. But the other nice thing to consider, if you didn't already know, is that it doesn't have to be just tribes like near your jurisdiction. So it doesn't have to be just Gila River. You can apply for any one of the tribes in the state that are part of that Prop 202 compact from back in the early 2000s. They're supposed to be able to open it up. Yes, when you get to see who gets awarded stuff, it typically tends to go towards closer to home kind of things. But Tonawanda, I know, is another good one. They're going to be another good one in a year because I just heard yesterday that they opened up the full casino operations for their West Valley. That's over by Glendale.
Yeah, I saw the news, yeah.
Yeah.
Desert Diamond or something.
Yeah, and
It's in the city, right? Glendale?
In Glendale,
Mhm.
yeah.
but on sovereign land.
Yeah. Like a year ago, I think it's still being built like I don't know, 9th Avenue and.
There's one
Like
there.
way
It's
upside.
not brand new, I think. isn't it?
Yeah, it's not too far from the Glendale Entertainment
Yes.
District.
Yes.
Um,
I'm trying
And what happened with that was, when they had the floods in '83, there was a lot of tribal land that got flooded because of some stuff that Army Corps of Engineers did. So tribe sued the government, won that, and within that they were able to purchase land that would be allowed to be brought in as sovereign land. So they
I wonder how that works. I really did. I
So
don't know how it works.
they got that. They're very strategic with that, obviously, and I know obviously some of the other tribes, there was some contention with it, but I think that there's enough people in the Phoenix Valley to really support all gaming operations. But yeah, so they just increased that capacity. But
Cool.
yeah, Tonaltum, Pasqua, Gila River, Salt River. I said any of those gaming tribes, and they all have different. You want to look on their particular websites because they all have different days, or not days, but dates and timeframes within the year with them to do the grant applications.
Good to know.
So path forward, Scott?
So, we're gonna get one of the planners to, who's the best contact with the town to work with?
But the town here itself,
Yeah,
who would be?
For helping with the grant preparation?
well, not just, no, I'm talking about more about the NIM
The NIM
stuff,
stuff?
but,
Probably Todd?
Todd would be probably
Yes.
the best one.
yeah,
In town here all the time.
Mm-hmm.
you have Todd's information?
He can go me or chief over there, we can figure, he needs to talk to us. We can reach them out.
Yep.
That'd be perfect. I'm glad to hear that because that was and I got one from Florence and they were like, it's all about communications. It wasn't much of anything else. Wow. It's tough. So I'm glad to hear that. Thank you for that.
Yes.
It's good information.
I'm gonna let Tammy know that you might be calling her.
And that'll lead into other things, right, the training piece and all the other ones that,
Yeah.
that
Mhm.
your department can help with. Art's come up before and really
Mhm.
helped us out. We tried to get police involved in the lesson, but we didn't, it was too late in that, but.
I do want to say actually that I almost forgot about that. One thing that we decided to do this year that we will be able to implement by the end of the fiscal year is in discussion with Art, who is our training and exercise coordinator. He knows from some previous drills and stuff that one of the most difficult things is getting training and getting exercises to the jurisdictions that don't have a lot of full-time or some don't have any full-time personnel. In perfect example is the Copper Corridor. And then we've got some fire districts out on the west side that have pretty similar circumstances. So we we received some reappropriation funds from the state that are part of our operating budget. And we're purchasing basically, for lack of a better term, the training and exercise trailer, where it will allow him to go out to different jurisdictions and provide different trainings that either he is able to put on, or if we have other instructors that can put on training, everything down to the ICS and stuff like that we know a lot of folks can't get. And then for exercises, similar thing, he wants to be able to bring exercises to people because we know that it's not always easy to get your folks pulled away from the local jurisdiction in order even to go down just to Florence. I mean, if you got a crew of 3 and you want to try to send a group down to Florence for an exercise for half the day, that's not always going to work. And we know that that's an issue for everybody in the east side and the west side of the county in particular. So he's going to be doing that along with, when he does start setting up things, it's going to be more shift friendly and, I guess for lack of better terms, volunteer friendly, to where I'll adjust his work schedule to where he can come out and teach, an ICS class over the course of a couple evenings, as opposed to trying to get somebody to take off time from mine to take an 8-hour class, in Phoenix or something like that. Same thing with weekends. Cool thing about Art is that he loves what he's doing, and the guy gets up at about 3 o'clock in the morning, so he's.
Does that include the 3 to 400, the
Yeah.
longer classes?
Yes. And then another thing that we got recent clarification on from the state, with regards to the training and exercise funding that we apply for from the State Homeland Security Grant Program, is that 2 things from DEMA. One is that when we're paying for those courses, they're not requiring the minimum class size like they used to, which if you knew from before, it was a minimum of 15. And even when you were like at 12 people, they were pushing you to get those extra 3 people, or else they may cancel the class.
Yes.
So they realized that they, outside of the Phoenix Valley and probably Tucson, that's not always a feasible thing to do. So they have allowed us to be able to make the minimums whatever we set those minimums as. So if it ends up being 5 or 7 people or something, then you're still going to have the class if we're footing the bill for that through our grant funding.
That's perfect, because you're absolutely right about that.
Mm-hmm.
Might get 8 guys and that's it.
Yeah.
I had the EMT refresher course, there's 3 of us, 2 weekends, she still did it.
Yep.
Because she understood.
Yep.
So it worked out great.
And then similar to that, they also have said that when they start scheduling classes with instructors, that they have no problem with also doing some of that unconventional stuff in order to make sure that you're hitting shifts. So if it needs to be, because another thing that we had an issue with, and this was also in particular like Graham and Greenlee County and Gila County, was that they couldn't send somebody to like a 3-day class because they couldn't have them gone from the jurisdiction for 3 full days. But if you had a class that was on a Monday, and then next Monday, and the next Monday, that was a whole lot easier for someone to bite off on, or rotating so that way it covered all 3 fire shifts. So there's definitely more, and I'm really glad that we're able to bring that on our end, but also get that clarification from the state on their end.
Excellent.
Okay.
Charles has been very, very helpful for us
Yes.
tonight.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Should we ask Charles to come back again and
We'll have us.
periodic basis?
Sure, if he's up to it, I don't have a problem with that.
That's covered by your grant, right?
Yeah.
This resolution buys you dinner or something.
Right. No, yeah, that is not a problem. I don't mind at all. And actually, hold on a second. The website or clearinghouse for grants, right?
It might be a good idea to get with one of these planners, work with Todd a bit, get down the road, and then have you come back and
Okay.
maybe.
Yeah, once we get some type of a plan,
Yeah,
so make sure we're kind of headed the direction we had for
Yeah.
the SNPs.
Okay. Cool.
Great.
Just
Yeah.
a periodic touch point, that we're going the right direction, you're seeing the things that
Should
are
be
aligned
seen.
with the county,
Mhm.
the county plans, and we're not going off on a different direction entirely.
Does anybody need a business card?
Yes.
There you go. I'm not having it in my desk spot, no, you know one.
You know, and
This is
just
gonna
know
be
that
county logo.
we're more than willing to participate in any drills we have. You let
Okay.
Kurt know, I mean, we're always looking to drill with somebody up here, so.
And we, funny that you said that, we actually emailed him today, when he comes back, he's out of the office this week, but when he comes back, I asked him, back in, November, right before we geared up, full swing on the holidays, we had a workshop to update a county, multi-year training and exercise plan, which is something, one of the things that we have to do for our grant for the state. But it just helps with the compliance and everything else. And he's going to, we had that workshop, he's got the draft of it to make sure it is finalized, and then I want to get that out to everybody in order to be able to comment on it. I am trying to picture in my head all the different folks that were there and the different people that put stuff up. I thought Superior put a couple things up, but I may
It's on the
not.
board down there in Florence.
Yeah,
Yeah, whiteboard, I was there.
okay,
I was-
all right.
I think I talked about it.
All right,
Okay.
so I want to make sure we get that out, and if there's additions to things, then, especially now, given some of the discussion we had this evening about, the potential of,
One of my things was training, and that was perfect. When you hit it on the dot, I put that up there because you can't get a lot of people all the time.
yeah.
So now you guys are more flexible, or we're starting to do that, it's great. That's one of my things up on the board.
Cool. Cool. All right,
Thank you.
thank you.
Sure.
I'll let you guys get back to
You can start driving home.
the fun stuff.
Yeah, appreciate it.
I saw what was on there,
Yeah.
county ambulance and capital expenditure stuff. I'm good.
It's just, appreciate it. The,
Just coming out.
Are you hosting the Pinal County Chief meeting next week? Is it
Yes.
in your place?
Yes, we are.
What time's it, 1 o'clock?
One,
I gotta see.
Yes.
I'll take off work, go over there.
1 o'clock. Think we're doing A&M Pizza for lunch since they are back open, since they had their big kitchen fire. So,
Oh,
Hey, that was last
oh, plan on trying to do
Have
that.
you mobilized for that?
Yeah.
thank you very much.
See you next week.
Thank you, Charles.
Thank you.
Me too.
Thank you.
Next Wednesday.
That was a good discussion.
Yeah, absolutely.
Anything else we can talk about there? We got a good plan?
I like that, I like what you said, because it does, like, when we first came up, oh, that's a lot to try to do.
Yeah.
Now he says it kind of tailored to how it works for us,
Yeah.
and it's still compliance is great.
And that's what I wanna make sure we stay compliant, right? So even if we're working towards it, and we're applying for grants and checking the box, we're still staying compliant, right? As long as we're moving the ball forward and
Exactly.
we really are moving it forward, right? So,
Yes. Absolutely.
26, that meeting you said, next month, or this month?
Next week,
Next
the
week.
Pinal County Fire Chiefs. Are we
Cool, okay.
good with that? Move on to the next item?
Yes.
Yeah,
Good?
I think so.
Okay. Next one will be, C, a discussion, possible approval for Superior Fire Department to use an outside independent auditor, the Public Safety Research Group, to develop a more definitive auditing plan.
Okay.
Well, that one, Chief?
Yeah, I know that we had some discussion about auditing what we have purchased
Yep.
to the money and compliancy. So I talked to the Public Safety Research Group, and they said they'll do it. Of course, you guys have this right here, if you have on your packages.
oh, I don't, was it was on the email? Yeah. if you-
And the thing, what they want to know is there certain items you want to start with? Like, for example, I'm gonna say, okay, our trucks, right, we have been taking care of them. Because what they gotta do is they gotta see the purchase orders that we bought stuff with, they gotta put their hands on the equipment, and it's following all the steps, whatever it's gonna be. So my question to you guys is, what are we gonna have audit the most? You have like 3, 4, or 5 things tops you wanna look at first, equipment, our trucks, maintenance, hoses for each part. Is there a certain amount of things you guys might wanna specifically look at, that's the question, because once we get it tonight, I'll get that squared away, I gotta give them a call.
Okay.
And then we're gonna get the ball rolling on our end of, here's, we bought it, here's the receipts on paper, and then we'll count it, yes, it's here, then we'll look at the plan, yes, that was part of the, what, we agreed to be doing.
Yeah.
So it's a lot to do, I've never been through audit like this, and so we need some more clarification on exactly what items, or what you guys, what resolution might be looking for this audit.
So they gave you a hard number, and that was based on a scope that somebody wrote, correct?
I think so, yeah, cause this, I told them some items, and I said, can you give me a number of what we'll take, you know?
That seems pretty high to me. The only reason I'm saying that is because, you don't have that much equipment, right?
Well, remember, it's fire equipment, including all equipment on the trucks, for
Yep.
maintenance.
Yep.
Turnouts, physicals, what else you got on there?
Is that a one-day exercise, or have they done this before?
Yeah, I think they've done it before, that's why he gave out this information, what do you guys want, cause I gotta have hands on it. You see turnouts, and you better see the purchase orders, for each single one.
Yep.
Who got them,
Yep.
and I gotta count and make sure they're there. Hands on it, there's 2 for Ronnie, there's 2 for Tim, whatever, and then and then go on the next, go down the line, and they wanna make sure it's compliant with what the agreement was between Resolution and Superior Fire, make sure it's following the agreement, and we're purchasing the items that need to be purchased for that agreement.
Mhm.
So, I don't know, I never through audit, like I said, and that's a high price, okay.
That seems high to me. I'm just, without looking at the records myself, but our conversations in the past have been that you've got all your records in order. It's just a matter of somebody sitting down at a table like this and methodically going through those and confirming them against, the actual inventory, the physical inventory sitting there. That's not a 2-day exercise. That should be, I don't know.
It's one guy though.
Yeah.
It's one guy doing the audit, so. Is there an hour on there or anything like that, or?
It's a total dollar, yeah.
Just hold on.
Yeah. I don't know what Cliff had in mind, or John had in mind there.
It was John and actually, I thought a whole clip, but Cliff got with John Altman,
Okay,
and he's the one that suggested, I guess, this whole what
sure.
the cost should be. I mean, outside source is great,
Yep.
unless you guys wanna do internal. Hey guys, this month, let's go over us together, let's look at what we want, do we have on hand, is it following the guidelines? Yes. Or you want outside audit people to use it, to do it.
And we had an,
This isn't just for, yes, you got the equipment either, this is also for, okay, you got this set number of turnouts, and now,
what's the
You're gonna
expiration
go
date
and-
on them, and
yeah, the compliance on them, and, okay, you still got a guy that, he don't have his turnouts look, you guys need to purchase another, this is where you're at with that compliance, and you guys need to go a little bit further, and you might need this to go, just many more sets, or, your hose is good, but, this is,
Yeah,
You
so
know what I
it's
mean?
not a
It's
counting
good.
exercise, but more of a,
see where we're at, like where we need to go with our capital expenditures moving forward, maybe, you're doing good on these ones, but you need to take it a step further, or, you need to go a little bit more with this one, or.
I think that'd be more beneficial for you guys,
Right.
to understand where you're at, I mean,
Exactly.
I don't know if we really need to do a cycle count, and you see you got 10 hoses and you got 10.
Oh, yeah.
That's simple to do, right, just to do that, but to sit there and, okay, yeah, the hose is there, but.
The hoses are no good, and you need to 10 new
Right.
hoses, right? I think from an op perspective, that would be more beneficial.
having a third party do it, I think it adds weight to the decisions that come out of that. He has no bone in the fight, right?
I don't know how long a process it is either, I don't know, they didn't give you a number, right, or
You give it a time.
Time frame, how long it would
And
take
it's
to
just,
do any of this, or-
outside auditor.
Yep.
maybe that's something we need to ask, maybe you have more idea what you're asking of, and you let them know, and how long will this take?
Yeah, because
That's
like if all of us here want to do one day, say, how many vet fans we have?
Yeah.
2 minutes, good enough. That's part of the
Yeah.
updating our equipment, part of the
Yeah.
policy. That, we can do it on our own, if not, like the outside auditor come in.
I mean, I think it's beneficial for you guys to do it yourselves,
To learn how to do it, yep.
I don't think we need to sit down there and count your
Or
hoses.
they
and
could do it
fans.
with us, or
So is this an approval item, or is this?
It's a discussion.
It's a discussion.
discuss it and a possible approval.
Because if you want to use them, we can, and if you guys want us to
or if you'd rather, if you wanna table it, or it's up to you guys to
You know, you wanna
get
think
more
about this?
information.
I think we should clarify the scope of it,
Yep.
but,
Okay, that makes sense.
but I think that instead of like a cycle count on it, it's more of an assessment of your condition of equipment and, you know,
Make sure the replacement frequencies are right, and
Yeah.
the maintenance records are being maintained properly, and, you know, all those things that you talked about.
Yeah.
He had a scope somewhere to come up with this number, maybe he's done it before, and he knows what he's gonna be looking at already.
Okay, I can ask that question.
Yeah.
It's still a discussion,
Absolutely.
absolutely, yeah, that way, if maybe, if
come back next month or whatever.
we don't have to use these guys, we don't, and.
No, we just have, you know, they understand where we started and.
Yes, they-
And they can come in and say, you know, the garage looks a lot better, you know, or whatever.
That's fine, I can ask them the current scope why.
So should we table this one till next meeting and we get some more information,
I'll do that.
all those numbers and that
Better
scope?
scope, maybe make sure that it includes an assessment of current condition and moving forward, what they suggest, recommendations.
And then
uh,
possibly even a second quote for the same work.
Or this might be it, I don't know,
Yeah,
just
I don't know.
clarification on what the values were.
Right,
Yeah.
just put more on it.
But more of an assessment of current condition and where capital should be spent in the near future. Including equipment, right, you know, it'd be,
Overall, everything.
hopefully part of that's looking at maintenance records and understanding where you're at, and truck breaks down every week, you know, that'll be a part of the assessment, where your capital should go to.
Right,
That makes sense.
okay.
Okay, so we're just table this and we get some more information.
Yeah,
Agree?
We'll keep it on it for next
hopefully we
meeting.
can get a scope and then vote on it next meeting and move forward with it, right?
Yeah,
So if he asks you like, what, just say, currently what we all have already? Or- So if you ask the question like, well, what do you want us to audit, so that everything we've got? since-
Yeah, I mean, you know, an audit is a snapshot in time, right? So they can't go and check every single training record or every
Yes,
single,
they can.
but, you know, go through and look at the assessment of your turnouts and, yeah, there's still life left in these, there isn't life left in them, you know,
Right.
trucks, you know, end of life and you need a new truck, you know, whatever the case is, you know?
Yes.
But snapshot, not every, turn over, you
Every
know, every
single-
helmet and see the condition of it, you know, like.
No, no, no.
right. I can help you with that.
Okay, we can do that.
I got a deal on it. Okay, we're good on that one?
Yes.
Go to D, discussion, possible approval of adding 30, fire department, mask mate hoods in the amount of $3,861.40 to the fire department capital expenditures. Right,
Are these replacement?
they're addition to what we have,
Yes.
the one, your Nomex hoods don't last as long as your turnouts, obviously, you know, your turnouts got a 10-year lifespan, I mean, per NFPA, they do go longer. The thing with the hoods is, you know, they're a thinner material, they wear out quicker, they stretch out. This was actually brought to our attention, Todd went to something down at the Capitol and they got on this, about these hoods. And the big thing right now in the fire service is like cancer. Cancer is a big
Yeah.
thing. I got a bunch of information out. They actually just changed our medical in the NFPA 1582. The cancer screening is now included in those, in your physical.
Yes.
So,
He's still gonna waive that.
and they just passed a legislation on firefighters, anybody that gets cancer that's firefighter, they say there's no question in other words, you don't have to try to prove that you got it from the fire
Work-related
service.
or not,
It's pretty much said it's work related, so it's, you know, covered. I know, like these hoods, there's some little bit of literature in there, I believe, on them. And,
So these are the PB Lansing ones, which are this model right here?
yes,
Okay. And then, what color did you get? It's the tan one, right? This one?
yeah, it's kind of a look right there, you know, it's kind of more open. The ones we have now are more like soft, I guess I should have bought one.
Yeah, they're like with cloth, soft.
These things are more open inside, and they got
Take them down.
that liner in there, that, you know, that lensing stuff that's supposed to block a lot more of the carbon
Percentages
and
that come through.
So
and
is this,
everything on there, and so it was suggested we add it to the capital expenditure, because we were under
We're under some money.
some money. And the reason we're under money because it takes such a long process.
Yeah.
You know, we went over, you know, one time, well, it cuts into your next budget again, you know, and so we
I'm
try to keep
prepared to
it.
approve, I don't think we need to talk about it, right? It
Right.
protects your firefighters, right?
It does, you know, we need, that's a big thing right now, and we're all kinda, you know, we do what we can, as far as, I don't wanna get too off top, you know, a longer subject on it,
But
but.
we do have a prevention in place.
Yes,
We've come a long ways doing it.
simpler things, you know,
Simple things. We're doing a lot of stuff, prevention wise.
Where does that money come out of the budget? You said there's some room in there.
well, the capital expenditures.
Capital expenditures, the amount that we asked for, was the full $25,000, and it wasn't, what was the max, I mean, what was the,
Ours was 25,000, our part of it.
but it was like, maybe we spent
We were
close to.
20,
We were almost at 20, yeah, it was under, just under 20.
So we still had some money to play with for, because we said, because the
Audit.
prices change all
Prices
the
change.
time, taxes,
taxes, that's why we
shipping.
kept that little bit there, for that reason, so we make sure we did
But it's
it.
real 200, so we kinda said we need to go over, make sure we're going over, spending all that money, in other words, so.
Yeah,
And this right here, take a big portion of that. That's important.
I'm prepared to approve it. It's a safety matter for your firefighters. That's a no-brainer for me. As long as we have it in the capital budget, if it's there, okay.
And we did get the $25,000 already, so it's there.
Okay,
Okay.
so is that a motion to,
I'll motion to approve item D for the 3D FD mask mate hoods tan.
Second it, yeah, second, a second motion.
okay, got a first, Chris, a second, JP, all in favor?
I
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, carried.
So you can just get your POs ready.
On that.
Who will?
Next, we'll move on to the next item, it's a discussion on the 2020-2021 fire police capital expenditures budget.
Is that what this is? Is this capital?
Yes, this was
New.
Todd's, this is what Todd wanted added to the,
Okay.
so he's
This is
not
the
here
one coming
today.
up, right?
Yes, this is the 20, that's what it said, I think it's the 2021.
Okay.
This is the one that he's proposing for next year, or that's what he,
Yeah, that's what he had right here, he was on top of it, he couldn't make it to the meeting today.
Okay.
still sick?
So do we want to table it for the next meeting?
Yeah, I think so. So that,
Yeah.
No, he's gonna be here.
just so we know, we're only talking about the top line, correct? The capital
That's the
expenditure,
capital, yeah,
the 1640 account? Okay. And this is the proposal for 2021?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, Todd, I agree.
okay. So this one will be tabled
Yes.
until next meeting? Okay.
And Todd is present.
Alrighty, table, move on to F, this discussion on attorney ambulance service. This one was suggested we put in on this by Todd. You guys aware of Kearney, you know, they're having their struggles right now with their rescue, their ambulance service. They did reach out to us, Todd, how long ago?
Months ago.
Been a few months ago
Yes.
anyway, wanting us to take it over.
Yep.
You know, and we looked through stuff and talked about it, and we decided, you know, it's not a good idea to take on something that's losing already when we're really kinda got things close to ourselves, you know, and it's, with the way things are. So, and I think they reached out to AMR as well, they weren't interested, and, so we kinda left it at that, and we've been told by the supervisor over there, the ambulance supervisor, last week, you know, that they're still struggling, and I do know that I've talked to Supervisor Resolution, helped him out with some money. I know Rosarco helped him out a little bit as well in the casino. How much, maybe a one-year payment or lease payment on it, or I don't know what they do with it, but anyway, you know, they're still struggling, they're trying to figure out a solution, and what the supervisor says, you know, per the town manager, that, you know, if they don't figure something out soon, that they're gonna have to shut it down. And, you know, we hope they figure something out, but, you know, we're talking, we hear this, so we just wanna be, you know, aware, you know, and I think more that's what this is, I think everybody is aware of it then, and, you know, I hate to not do anything or say anything or think about it, and then tomorrow they say, hey, we shut it down, because this will impact us one way or the other. They shut it down,
Yeah,
you know, what are we gonna do? You know, I mean, we're the next closest available, it's gonna be a black market, you know, if you don't go help do something, or, you know, I mean, it's, I don't know, something we gotta think about
I'm
and
just,
be aware and start thinking about some ideas, or, you know, can we help them? It's, you know, I know,
I'm hoping Kearney
Budget-wise, you
figure
know,
it
like-
out, you know, I hope Kearney figures this out. I really
Yeah.
do.
It's not just Kearney, right, it's Winkleman as well.
well, Hayden,
Or
yeah, Hayden,
Hayden and,
and the Hayden pays them, I know, a pretty good chunk I hear too, you know, like 22,000 a year, you know, and if they, you know, it sounds like they're really folding up here pretty soon, it sounds like, you know, they're, you know, that'll be another income revenue source they're gonna lose out of it, and, so it's just more of a,
Those communities can't do anything from a tax-based standpoint in order to have more assessments in order to support that?
I know they've been asking, I heard they asked like Pinal County for some money, and I didn't know they actually gave money, which they said they asked Pinal County, and they got a little bit of Gila County too, because of Winkleman area is in actually in Gila County, and they requested money from them. I didn't know they actually helped them with that stuff. So I mean, I don't know the total final financial, you know,
I mean, so have you guys looked at it from a financial standpoint, I mean, how many calls they're doing and
Yes.
we did,
if
we
they
have.
wouldn't make money?
That's what they owe, I think, we came out, we ran the numbers right, I think.
We're looking at a lot of numbers, and Todd has too, and Todd's real smart with that stuff, you know, and it's something that, you know, he can probably elaborate on quite a bit more, because he's good with that stuff, those numbers and budgets, and a lot of it is, you know, their billing's got a lot to do with it, even ours, you know, billing, you know, their insurance are paying less and less, they're not paying for refusals,
Exactly, yeah.
and ours has actually took a hit, and we're doing, you know, we're doing everything we can, you know, we had a really good month in December, I know it,
Yeah.
you know, but, you know, we're still, you know, our service has never made money, except
No.
one time, like 3 years ago, we made less than $100. We've always operated in the red, but not by, you know, much, we got behind quite a bit more, but it's every little detail you gotta really keep on top of, and a lot of it's their billing, refusals, they bought a rescue, I don't know if it was budgeted even,
Yeah.
and then they broke a heart monitor, you know, and that go buy one of those, and that's an unforeseen, big expense right there, you know, those things are $30,000-$40,000. But
So I hope they figure some out, that's the current town of Kearney, right? Hey, whatever.
Yeah.
The priority, the fire department here is Superior and surrounding,
right.
you know, everybody in the area. You know, hopefully they'll come down to that where we're gonna be over there. You know, the priority to me is here, that's just what we are, what we do here, but we always want to help our neighbors out, of course. I hope they can figure something out, because they need to. They really do.
This is an ideal time for community leaders to band together and come up with a solution that
Yes,
benefits all, and instead of looking to the other communities surrounding them to
right.
pull them out of the grave, you know, they really need on their own.
Yes.
And there's certain things that we can do to help from an organizational standpoint, there's certain things you can do to help from an organizational standpoint, but in the end, they're the ones that are there.
Well, they gotta go and take that help too.
I wish I had a better way to say it, but I just don't know.
No, yeah, you're,
Right, absolutely.
absolutely.
We would like them to be successful.
Yes.
We really
Yes.
would.
So,
Something out there, just hopefully
Yeah.
make it successful for them on their part.
So is that something we want to just be prepared for an update next month on what the status is and going forward? No?
yeah,
There's
and then we
nothing
could,
do.
I mean, I think Todd might need to reach out to Anna, the town manager too, and, you know, make sure that, you know, what's the standpoint over there, what's your guys'
Yeah.
position, and, you know, get some more clarification, you know.
Yeah,
Is it
just
as
for
bad as you
preparing,
think?
right? I mean,
And that's all it is, you know, just because I don't want to, you know, then tomorrow come in and, oh yeah, they're shut down over there, and they're gonna be calling us, you know, I mean,
No, yeah, that's,
you know,
Are you there second out? Or-
are we there second now?
we are actually, we do respond over, if they're gone, if it's in Kearney, we'll go over there, and then
It's on the other
AMR,
side?
We'll go to Hayden.
yeah, AMR comes all the way over to Hayden, and then we'll.
They're coming out of what, Ore Valley or something like that, or where?
They're coming out of
San
San Manuel.
San Manuel.
And it's not, doesn't happen a lot,
Yeah.
They'll call us, I get calls.
we go there occasionally, you know, we don't, you know, every once or a month or something, every couple of months, we'll go get called out over
Yeah.
there.
That's with the ambulance over there, right? So,
Yeah. This won't affect their fire service at all over there?
Their fire is actually separate from their
Yeah.
ambulance, they're all volunteers, so they, even though they work together, but they're a separate entity.
Sure.
Ambulance service is just the ambulance.
Surprised AMR won't go in there.
that's something we update next time, see where it's
Yeah.
at, if changed.
It does affect us in the room.
It does.
Yeah, I just hope that they, like I said, I agree, they gotta work it out and figure it out, cause it's, they do shut it down, there's gonna be a lot of backlash from the public, and, they need that over there.
I'm like, not negative, but I stand my ground, we gotta take care of security, that's what we are, sure. And everybody else here that goes to works around us.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying we won't go there, that we'll help our neighbors out, but, like I've been called places fires before, I can't stand nobody. I just can't do it, because of whatever reason it was.
Yeah.
If I have a good, like usually when we do go to Kearney, we try to page out for coverage. So- So we, our own people, if they're here, they're covered. I did it one time for a little while. But during that fire, we went to Kearney with the Alpha Fire in Kearney.
Yeah.
Me, I told Jason, Jason's still on duty. If mine doesn't call, you have to help me. Okay, I'll help you. I mean,
Yeah.
for stuff like that. So we kind of page out, see if anyone else can come up while they're away. Try to cover the town with people,
Yeah.
so.
Anyway,
Someone can
that's
make comment, I
just
guess,
what
next
that position is anyway, that's what that was about.
Thank you.
Okay, good on that one? Move on to 6 will be the adjournment. We have a, motion to adjourn, we have a second?
Second.
Second it, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?